and welcome to another video with me, Andrea, and with Everest, who is throwing things down our basement stairs. So, today's topic, veganism and other social justice work. I'm going to put the label intersectional veganism. And, I'm really relatively new to veganism. Like, veganism has been around for way longer than I've been vegan for. So I'm sure this has been a reoccurring thing in the movement of animal rights and veganism. However, for me, it's pretty new. This concept coming up in veganism of intersectionality. And how is it helping veganism? Is it hurting veganism? You want to come up? Up? Okay. You want to say hi?
Hi, Nick.
Hi, everyone.
Booby.
You want Boopy? Okay. So, it's been coming up a lot in the groups, and there's a lot of misunderstanding, I feel, that's going on, both from the anti-intersectional perspective and from the intersectional perspective. And, one thing I want to say is just because someone identifies as intersectional does not automatically make them intersectional. And just because someone doesn't identify as intersectional doesn't mean that they truly aren't intersectional. It's just a label, Someone can be vegan without identifying as a vegan, and the same goes for an intersectional vegan. You don't need to choose the label. And more, there's been articles about intersectionality being whitewashed similarly to veganism and to feminism. It's white supremacy rearing its ugly head and just kind of turning intersectionality into something it's not. Just like the word ally, self-identifying as an ally has become more and more problematic. And same with self-identifying as an intersectional vegan. So let's get one thing straight. Veganism is about non-human animals. Okay? And there's a reason that distinction is made, because you're trying to avoid non-human animal exploitation as far as practical and possible. And human exploitation is everywhere. It's much more difficult to avoid. I'm not saying that we shouldn't work to try and avoid it, but you just can't, literally nothing would be vegan if we'd be really, really limiting ourselves, but that doesn't mean we can't approach capitalism and, marginalized communities and, systems of oppression and still criticize them. And we should criticize them. However, so many of the things that we buy as vegans, we hashtag cruelty-free, while a lot of the amount of animal suffering has diminished significantly from our lifestyle. There is no way that, we are all living these lives that don't support some sort of human exploitation or marginalization. And, we're all, as white vegans, benefiting from our whiteness with white privilege. And there's a lot that we don't understand about that. There's a lot I don't understand about it. I'm still unpacking a lot of that and really learning more and more. But when I first went vegan, for example, and I was wanting to convert someone, I went for guttural human experiences, such as Black slavery, such as the Holocaust, and I thought that I was doing a service to the animals by taking that stance. However, more and more I realized that I was doing a disservice to the animals, because I was ostracizing people by diminishing their human experience and in doing so, I was pushing them away from veganism. I really do feel like, vegans who say things like, oh, I hope that woman who wears fur gets anally electrocuted and skinned and experiences the same things as an animal. Like, I don't think that's helping the animals. I think you're just making people think that you're a violent, hateful person. It's so funny because I've changed, that perspective has changed so much. My approach to veganism has changed so much. My approach to just general life, has changed a lot over the last few years. I think before I was pregnant, I did a video about GMO foods to avoid. And now with increasing research, I've realized that there's actually zero evidence that GMO foods are dangerous, and there's not any recorded benefits to eating organic. It's basically an unregulated, thing. So anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but the point is that what I'm realizing more and more is not to be so intense, because I'm learning that I changed my opinions more than I really might be aware of, I would say I am still a problematic white vegan. However, I feel more aware of my whiteness and how my lack of and my class, not just my whiteness, but also my level of wealth in our society. And I more and more am realizing how much that impacted my experience with veganism. And it's not to say that people living with less can't be vegan, because I have so many friends that are doing it on so little and they're amazing. But I'm just talking about the privilege of veganism and the privilege of healthy veganism, So when we talk about fat shaming and health shaming within the vegan community, and there's an amazing vegan woman of color that I will tag in the comments. Her name's Breeze Harper, and she runs a Facebook page called Sista Vegan, and she did a piece about how, she was sitting in this car with all these, passionate animal advocates, and one of them was discussing his mother who had all these different illnesses as a vegan. She was vegan, but she was really sick. And, Breeze was discussing how the response was lacking compassion, because they basically were accusing this guy that his mom didn't do veganism right, and that when veganism is done right, no, you aren't sick, and you aren't, dealing with chronic illness. And that's not true. So many vegans are dealing with chronic illness, and this lifestyle is not some cure-all for everything. Yes, it does increase your chances of health, but, there's no guarantee. All done? Okay. You want to go down? No more boopy? No. Okay. So, I really want you to, this is my reflection. Do you want to go on my back? Yeah, back. This is my reflection, but hopefully you can reflect on this and really, take your veganism to a new place where, we realize that, animals aren't the only group of living beings who are suffering a voiceless oppression. A lot of vegans go, oh, well, the black people, they have people talking for them already. They have voices. Yeah, but no one's listening, and no one's magnifying those voices. We're silencing those voices, and we're invalidating those voices. And those voices are often vegan voices. We are drowning out the voices of vegans of color and vegans in the LGBTQ community, plus LGBTQ plus community, because we're so hyper-focused on only the non-human animals that we don't realize we're failing the non-human animals by being like bigoted towards the human animals. And you see this with the anti-natalist community. Like, there are literally vegans who celebrate when a person of color is murdered by the police, because they'll go, well, that's one less person killing animals. Like, there are legitimately vegans who take that approach. And it's disgusting. It is not beneficial to the movement. And it's increasingly creating this divide in the movement, which, you know, is inevitable. However, it really... Do you want to go up on my back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back.
Say hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys. It's inevitable, but it's still, you know, disappointing, and it's still too bad for the animals. You know, I wish, and like this comes up in a lot of the topics. You know, like even just modern medicine, it really divides the community. So unfortunately, it's just part of the topic, but I think more and more we should do our part as vegans to create a world where, like, we're working to end all oppressions, where we're working to, you know, really see how oppression is linked and see how capitalism links all oppressions. And, you know, there's a lot of work to be done in that regard. So I don't think this is going to be my last video on this subject, but I really wanted to address it because it's coming up a lot in my life. I actually just unfriended someone on Facebook because, you know, she was saying she doesn't identify as intersectional, and I have no issue with that because, like I said, just because you don't identify as something doesn't mean you don't take that approach still. However, then, you know, all these vegans, yeah, I hear you, come in and they start saying, oh yeah, well, intersectional vegans are the R word, and intersectional vegans, you know, they're just idiots and this and that. And it just is ridiculous. Like, that's not the case, you know. Unfortunately, some people are representing intersectionality poorly. However, they do not represent all intersectional vegans. And I really do think it's a benefit, meow meow, to the movement for us to work towards creating equality in all forms. And that's my viewpoint on it. So I hope you guys have a great day. And say bye, Everest.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye, see you.
See you. Bye, guys.